Welcome back, everyone, to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk podcast. This is United show. This is Devin's Advocate. This is match reaction. Mark's unfortunately not here today, so I'm taking the reins for him today. Joined by Stu and Fred. Half time, I thought we were going to be talking about a way different game. But as I said last night in the preview, Sevilla, us, and Europa League just don't seem to be a good match. and this, I think the last 15-20 minutes proved that. We're going to discuss all the game. We're going to do player ratings, discuss all the big topics. So do smash like the video, do subscribe, and look, again, as always, we do appreciate everyone's support. Still 2-0 at half time, we were absolutely cruising. By many accounts, we discussed off air, we played very well in the first half. We played some very good football. Obviously people like Martial and Sabitzer especially standing out in that first half. What were first of all your overall thoughts in the game and kind of just how I suppose it's after panning out? I know there's a lot of things we've discussed, but just give your initial thoughts.
It's one of those tales of two halves, isn't it? Unfortunately, and that does happen in football. Occasionally at all levels. You appear to be cruising, which we were in the first half. The game was very easy for us in the first half. Our intensity was high. Our elite play was absolutely superb. Our short game, our long game, everything that we did was measured. It was mindful. We were a little bit wasteful in the first half, I think, to be fair. Sabitzer was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, his first goal, I can't tell you how difficult that first touch was to drag it back from behind him to then put him in a position where he can take a decent strike with his left foot. I'm not a striker. As a defender, as a centre-half, you would not be expecting him to be able to get his foot and drag it and then get a shot away like he did. And I don't think the goalkeeper was. His second was just brilliant play all around from Martial, from deep and then picking the pass. Where we let ourselves down in the first half was our inability to shoot when we were in good, when we gained good possession, had acres of space, and we elected not to shoot. I think we could have gone in 4 goals up at half time. We should have gone in 4 goals up at half time. And I think it's something that Ten Hag will look at and speak to the players about. Second half, wow. Very difficult to put my finger on what happened in the second half, because as bad as we were, the opposition has to capitalise on it. And to be fair to Sevilla, they did capitalise on our performance, our lacklustre, our languid approach in the second half. There was nothing about us in the second half that gave me confidence we would go on and win the game of football. And unfortunately, that's not good as a supporter. People will point to the fact that they got lucky with 2 deflections. I think the first one in particular was pretty bad defending. It was awful. The space that, what's his name? The ex-City player. That's him.
Navas,
the ex-City player was afforded was too much. On the byline, you've got to be tight. No inch, no quarter. You have to be tight. You cannot allow a cross to come in. And of course, Malassi was so far away from Navas. The deflection, unfortunate as it was, De Gea had no chance. But De Gea, for some unknown reason, and I've never seen him do this, was off his goal line, and he was 4 yards into the 6-yard box. And he never normally does that because he never comes and claims a cross. If De Gea had been in his normal position on the goal line, that would have been okay. He would have collected it, no problem at all. So I'm not really sure what happened there. I thought Sevilla were quite industrious in the second half. Sevilla looked and they understood our body language in the second half and played their way into the game rather nicely from a football perspective. From a Manchester United perspective, shocking. Now, when you look at certain periods of possession, and I always talk about being able to read the game. Now, there's certain parts on a football pitch where you're relying on others to read the game on your behalf because you're solely concentrating on chasing the ball or the player because it's in your segment. And we kind of didn't have that again today. When Varane went off, it kind of took that away from us. Varane's very good at reading the game. I don't know if you guys noticed. He's excellent reading the game. Casemiro is excellent reading the game. But when Casemiro is occupied, which he was a lot in the first half, towards the end and the second half, you need somebody to be able to read the game and instruct where Casemiro isn't, because Casemiro is looking after his area of the pitch. We lack that. Sabitzer kind of ran out of steam a little bit, I think. I think that first half kind of went to his legs and they kind of drained him. Somebody said on Twitter the subs didn't help. It's hard to disagree with that. I think they may be right. I don't think the subs did help us, but sometimes you've got to roll the dice. There's a squad there for a reason, and you've got to use it. I thought when Palestri came on, I thought he was quite, industrious. The part that he had, I didn't think Elanga was too bad. Weghorst cannot come on as a sub. He either starts or he doesn't, because he doesn't give you that industriousness that he does when he starts. He didn't pull the defenders around at all today. Sevilla also, I thought, were quite tough in the tackle. They're quite hard with us. Something that we're lacking. We're lacking power in our tackles. I thought they were quite good. And then something that we've been talking about a long time for the past few weeks is overuse of players. And I think Martinez is a victim of being overused. He's, it looked like an Achilles injury to me. I don't guys think. I think
similar to the David Beckham one for me. Remember when he got injured at Milan?
Oh, I do. Yeah.
The one right before the 2010 World Cup. The way the impact happened, it almost, because I remember no one was around Beckham at the time, and the same thing happened. And that was my initial thought. When that injury happened, that was like shit.
Looked Achilles. Yeah. If it is Achilles, that's it. I would imagine he's done for the season. That's it. We've lost Martinez. We don't know what's wrong with Varane. I don't know what's wrong with Varane. I didn't hear.
I think he's more precaution.
He is precaution, is he?
First half, yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm sorry I've dragged on, Freddie. I do apologise, mate. But there's a lot for me to go through. And I'm just going to put it out there, by the way. Don't be coming on and giving Maguire any shite for that own goal at all, because I shall ask Keane to block you in the chat because it's just unacceptable. There were two. Well, the Maguire goal was a free goal. If you saw it in slow motion, that header was going 90 yards wide. In fact, wasn't going to the corner flag. It's just he headed it directly at Maguire. Maguire had no chance. And one other thing as well, I know you'll touch on it, Keane. There's no way it was a yellow card for Bruno. No chance. The distance between the striker of the football and Bruno's elbow was just too much. So look, I'm going to say we were lackluster second half, but I'm going to credit Sevilla for capitalising on our body language and our performance in the second half.
Yeah, look, it's for myself, I think the way we conceded the Navas kind of deflection goal.
Yeah.
I think that came down to a lack of communication between Malacia and Elanga, because Elanga was telling, on the replay, you can see Elanga telling Malacia, watch your man over your shoulder.
Correct.
And again, it's two inexperienced players, breakdown of communication. Shit happens. Well, you can't really be saying that in the Europa League quarterfinal, but that's kind of where it is. Fred, I suppose we'll touch on kind of more positive stuff first before we kind of dive into the referee and stuff like that. Marcel Sabitzer has found a new role in the number 10 role. In the last two games, he's picking up a lot of great positions, goal scoring positions. Do you think, obviously now with the Bruno suspension in the second leg, do you think he may play in the number 10 role again? And also, do you think, is this going to be a good time to kind of, suppose, get minutes back into Christian Eriksen's legs, because he's missed a couple of months of football?
Yes, most certainly. I think that's what when we signed Sabitzer, we signed a versatile player, someone who can play in most of the midfield central positions. So it's no coincidence seeing him in this form playing a bit further up. I actually think it's his natural position. It's the position he played most in for RB Leipzig. So yeah, I definitely think he's going to be played there or deployed there a lot more by Ten Hag going forward. I think just on the positive side, then it's something Ten Hag's been doing recently. He's been deploying a bit more fluidity amongst the squad. Dropping Bruno deeper, pushing Sabitzer further forward. He tried it with McTominay against Newcastle. That clearly didn't work. He's trying to create a dynamic squad. The fun players switching wings if things aren't working. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that in the coming weeks. And definitely I think Sabitzer, given Bruno suspended now for the second leg, and just the injuries, I think we're going to see a lot more of him going forward. I'm surprised we didn't see Fred today. I think he would have been a good player in the second half to bring on. I think we missed that sort of energy in the middle of the field. I understand why he brought Eriksen on. He needs to get minutes into his legs. But I think Stu was very comprehensive with his sort of diagnosis of the game. It was a complete game of two halves. The game should have been completely buried by half time. 2-0 was very flattering to Sevilla. Should have been about 4 or 5 easily. The pace just completely dropped off second half. And once you leave that door slightly ajar, Sevilla, they've won this competition 6 times. They're the most successful team in this competition. They know how to react, how to sort of perform in these late stages of this sort of competition. As soon as we gave them that opportunity, they've just completely capitalised on that to our detriment. And I think we were complacent. I'm seeing a lot of overreaction online about the subs, Ten Hag's use of subs. On another day, if we win that game and we've made the subs, people think Ten Hag's a genius. It's just one of those things that went against us this time round. And the other thing is, look, Bruno was on a yellow card. The yellow card was completely wrong, as you've already mentioned. If you keep him on, he gets a red card. You get criticised. It's sort of lose-lose. And it's one of those things. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. I think we were very unfortunate. The first goal we conceded was horrendous defending. I think Malacia will, when they re-watch that tomorrow, I think he's going to realise just positioning was wrong. I don't know why he left it. Assuming, like you said, didn't know Navas's positioning. He was too far from the byline. He's just expecting it to roll out. But he's a young defender. He's learning. So I doubt that will happen again. The second goal, just pure unlucky. It's just going completely wide, gets a deflection. It's sort of happens 1 in 100 times, and unfortunately, it was just one of those games.
Harry Maguire that's there now, because I think we all know what's coming his way now.
I'll be honest. I'll be gobsmacked. I'll be gobsmacked, Keane. Though, if people criticise Harry Maguire for that, that is, you cannot do anything there. Like, you cannot do anything. So I think this would be like a line under the sand there. If you just criticise Maguire, pin him out for that, then you certainly have an agenda, because that could have happened to absolutely anyone. I think the biggest concern is the injuries today. Like Martinez is just an absolute killer. Varane, I think, was precautionary, like you mentioned, but Martinez, if he snapped his Achilles there, that's this season, and potentially the start of next season, him ruled out. So I think that's the biggest worry after today, even more than the result.
Yeah, look, I think the result is a kick in the balls, but then like when Martinez gets injured, it's tough. It's a bit like the result itself is a bitter pill to swallow. But when you look at the grand scheme of things, I think that his injury could really derail this season. It really could, because let's say we're speculating that Varane was precaution. It looked like a precautionary substitution that he was making. And then obviously, let's say if that injury is bad, then we're stuck with Lindelof and Maguire at centre half, compared to, let's say, the Varane Martinez partnership. And
it's going to be interesting, that Keane. It'll be interesting, that Keane, because we probably won't hear till Tuesday. Oh, sorry, till I keep forgetting it's Thursday, isn't it? Till maybe Saturday, Sunday, because you're going to have to let the swelling go down before they can scan it. So if it is Achilles, it'll be very, very sore. It'll be swollen already, and they won't be able to scan it until the swelling goes down, because you'll have like a congealed, all the blood will be congealed in and around the tendon itself, and in a very strange, quick effect, it almost holds it in place for a little bit, although it might be torn or ruptured it kind of stabilizes it. But until the inflammation goes down, they're not going to be able to scan it and get a real full diagnosis. But if that's not an Achilles injury, I'll be astonished.
Yeah, you can tell, can't you? His reaction that
he knew.
There was no contact. It was definitely Achilles. So
no.
definitely pop. Do you know what I mean? It was.
It's horrible. Achilles.
It was good. Do you know? It was good to see his compatriots carry him off. It's a good thing to see. I don't know where the stretchers were. Mind, I don't think the Glazers have forked out for a stretcher here, which is we can't afford them at Old Trafford. Maybe if we were away, we'd have seen one, but it's a real shame. So let's see. Hopefully, he's okay.
Yeah, look, when you look at the games coming up, Forest away on Sunday, you've the second leg, you have Brighton in the FA Cup, then you have Spurs right after that.
Yeah.
Look, the next couple of games now, I think our squad depth is really going to be tested, especially when you look at the race for the top four. I think one thing that can give us maybe the tiniest bit of peace of mind is the fact that Spurs and Newcastle have to play each other, and also Spurs have to play Liverpool. That's the only bit of, I suppose, peace of mind being getting this top four race is we have to start when we keep winning games in the Premier League, and that'll look after itself. But in regards to tonight's game, though, Anthony Martial's deal. What do you make of his return? First start back in European competition in quite some time for Martial. What do you make of his performance today?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought he was great first half. I thought he was excellent when he came on at the weekend, and I thought he's followed that through today. I thought he was brilliant. It's kind of the old Martial, wasn't it? Get the ball, drag defenders with him, use his strength and his power to get round them, run at them. His close control looked like it was back. He looked happy. He looked a far different personality to what we've seen, in the last 18 months to 2 years. It's absolutely brilliant. I think he's going to be absolutely, if he can play 90 minutes, by the way, he's going to be diamond for us. He really is. I think with Anthony, the way that he played in patches tonight, the way that Sancho played in patches tonight, the way that Martial, played the first half, it was absolutely terrific. My worry is, we're going to have to blow teams away in the first half because we don't seem to be able to sustain it. Martial, didn't sustain it in the second half. Sancho didn't sustain it in the second half. Anthony did to an extent, hit the post with a wonderful.
There were situations he kept getting us up the pitch.
Exactly right. Yeah, but wily defenders, wily units, defensive units will be able to snuff that out. So I was really pleased because I've been a massive critic of Martial over the last few years. He hasn't done enough for me to warrant pulling on the shirt, but I've seen the Martial of old. There was some kind of hunger, some kind of desire about the way that he carried the ball today, which was great to see. So, we're going to need him Sunday. We're going to need him against Brighton as well. And we're going to need him for the run-in. We've got, Ten Hag tonight has got problems. He's got real problems. And he's going to have to use some wizardry, I think, to see us through. Last time me and Freddie were on, we discussed, and I made a bit of a bold claim, actually, and Freddie will know this. I said, Keane, and I don't know whether you saw the show or not, don't expect too many results of a positive nature over the next few games because I don't think we've got the squad to do it. And it's going to be no easy game against Forest on Sunday.
They're fighting for their life.
I don't care what anyone says. People say, "Oh, we got to, you should go to Forest and you should beat Forest." Just think about what football is first before you go saying that. We got major problems. You talked about the centre back pairing of Maguire and Lindelof. They've hardly played this season, and it's showing. Unfortunately, they should have played certain games throughout the year. They should have done. I was on your show, Keane, and I said that when we had the League Cup second semi-final second leg Forest, and then we played Rangers, I think it was on the Saturday in the in the FA Cup. I said
No,
they should
Reading,
Reading, where Ericsson got injured.
yeah.
I said on that show that they should have got a squad together. They should have got rid of Casemiro, Ericsson, Fernandez, gone on holiday for 5 days and used our squad. It would have got us through and would have had fresh players, fitter players. And we haven't done that. And I'm no mind reader. You know, I understand football, but I'm not, you know, qualified as Ten Hag. But we are seeing things now that we discussed weeks ago that unfortunately are starting to rear their ugly head. And yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. But great to see Martial. But can we keep him fit, Keane? You know, that's the age-old question, isn't it? Can we keep him fit? If we're bringing Varane off again as a precaution, we've got major, major problems. And we have to open our eyes, I'm afraid, to this.
Yeah, I think the massive concern for me is just the squad depth in general. I think, like, look, this was always going to come to a head. This has been a concern on the channel, literally, I'd say, nearly on every second match preview we're talking about. We're due a big injury. We're due a bad run of form. And unfortunately, this could, like, with the injuries that are piling up now, this could happen because we're literally, with no disrespect to Val Veghorst, and like I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but we're literally in one Martial injury away from playing him up top in the running.
Well, we are. You're absolutely right. And you know, I like Veghorst only because I like the way that he does his off the ball work. You know, but playing in a team with somebody like that is absolutely phenomenal. You play with a team. I played last night in a league match, 7-a-side, and we had to bring a lad in because one of our players was injured. And he just soloed all night, kept losing the ball, and of course we were slightly out of position all the time, and you know we ended up losing the game 6-2. You know, and you're saying to the guy after, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, you've got to be smart and sensible, and that's where Veghorst is quite good. Keane, he's very smart in his play occasionally, very sensible in his play, but
the way we play a fluid front three, though, if we like the fact that Martial, like Sancho, and Anthony, you can't play that way with Veghorst. The team, we seen it in, I think, when he came on, where the lack of movement is. Where the big concern I have here is not just Val Veghorst potentially having to come back into the team. I think Jadon Sancho right now, like, I've really supported him, and I still really do support him. I'm looking at a player who looks like he has a confidence crisis at the moment now. Because I looked at him tonight, there was some times where he could have taken a shot, he could have made a pass, and he took that second or third touch. Whereas the Sancho we really know is he takes that one touch and he lays it off and moves. That's what's concerning me. I feel like, look, it's definitely not a quality thing because he's a brilliant player, brilliant footballer, and we see even tonight in flashes that he's a brilliant player. I feel like he's going through, like, I don't know what it is. It's a crisis of confidence right now. And like, Fred, how do we get Sancho out of this in such like a convoluted fixture, congestion right now? Because I feel like, especially if Rashford's going to be out until after the FA Cup or till Brighton, we're going to have to rely on Jadon Sancho as well.
We are. I when we were linked with him, and sorry, I know I keep on bringing up Freddie Keane, but he was on the show with me because I got vilified for it. So I remember this. I said we don't need Sancho. And I went on to explain why we didn't need him. We needed a Casemiro type player, etc., etc. Just nothing new, Keane. You know, I've been saying this yourself. You know that. And I went on to explain why Sancho wouldn't fit our system. And I don't like being proven right, but unfortunately, I have been proven right. However, I'm going to say this, and I genuinely mean this. If we'd sorted out the centre half and the central midfielder, the deep line central midfielder, if you brought Sancho in this season under Ten Hag, you'd see the type of player you were looking at, King, because he's coming into an already Ten Hag type of system. Yeah. When he came in under Ollie, and it was a protracted, drawn-out saga, and he was playing excellent for Dortmund, but you've got to bear in mind, he got that phenomenal freak Haaland up there, didn't he? He could play a ball behind Haaland at the minute, and he was hitting the back of the net, wasn't he? For Dortmund, he's doing the same for City. I just think now, if we bought him this season, at the beginning of the season, you'd see the Jadon Sancho that you guys respect and see as the footballer that we're missing right now. And I don't think, in answer to your question, and Freddie may disagree with me on this, but I don't think you can get him out of this law.
No, I'm a bit worried, if I'll be honest, with Sancho. There's always been a question mark on the profile of the player he is. If he's actually going to be able to perform as a winger in this league, I don't think he's got the physical attributes. I don't think he's got that turn of pace that you need on the ball. He's got the qualities. He's very intelligent. There's just a question mark looming, and especially today, he looked very off his game today, and I do worry for him. And I think the lack of striker in the team hinders him, like Stu mentioned. If you've got a player like Haaland, you just need a playmaker, which he's more in that category of. Put it on the plate for him, he can do that. You need, feed it up to someone, they'll score. If you have your Weghorst, even your Martial, in terms of that profile of striker who drops a bit deeper, it sort of invalidates Sancho's game. And today he just seems so short of confidence. He's, like you said, Keane, he's not shooting when he has the opportunity. He's always cutting back. His final ball is always 1 or 2 seconds late, and then the opportunity is to pass. There was one incident, I think he scored in the first minute actually, and he was offside. It seems, it was a good finish, but just these little 1-2%, going a bit too early, and it's just not going for him at the minute. And I just hope that with Rashford, unfortunately being injured, he's inevitably going to get a bit more game time, and hopefully he can play his way into a bit of form. But yeah, I feel a bit sorry. I have a bit of sympathy for him because I don't think the striker situation has helped him. I think he's still going to be here next season. So hopefully when we sign a striker, we'll see a different Sancho. I think he needs to establish where he wants to play. Is he a left winger? Is he a right winger? Is he a central player? I don't think anyone knows that yet. So there's a lot to be figured out with him. But he needs to up his game. He's obviously not, though he obviously had his issues the first half of the season, which we don't know, the circumstances for. But yeah, I think next season he's going to get opportunities for the rest of the season. Next season's a big season for him, and it's probably going to make or break his United career. But I think there's big question marks over him being a winger, because I just don't think he fits the profile of a winger in the English game, unfortunately.
Yeah, so do you know as well? Like, I think really for him right now, where the concern is, I think I echo that. Also, if Ahmad comes back and he plays the way he's playing with Sunderland, Sancho's not got the game in this team. I'm telling you that now. When I look at the profile of player he is, Ahmad could come in there and really, let's say, for example, if you look at our strongest front three, let's say on paper right now, is Anthony Martial and Marcus Rashford. That is our strongest front three right now. If a striker comes in the summer, does Martial drop down second choice striker / left winger? That's where, I think Sancho, if he doesn't kick on next season, he could be in big trouble. And with new ownership, let's say potentially in there, and we have money to spend, not this summer coming, but the summer after. You're right, Fred. It could be, it could be a bad situation for him. But I know there's a player in there. I said this about Marcus last season when Marcus was going through a similar kind of moment of confidence where this time last season I said there's a player in there with Sancho. I do believe there is a player in there. I do think there is a player in there with him. But is it the case? And we've seen this at many players before. Is Man United too big for him? It could be. It really, really could be. We've seen quality players come here, not play well here, and then go to another big club and play well. Sometimes Manchester United it does something to certain players, and this could be a certain situation like that. But I really hope he can come back and get back into the team for a sustained period of time and get into good form.
It's a good point you both make, actually. First and foremost, what is his position? Where is it? Where does it lie? And secondly, can he handle the shirt? Can he handle playing for the greatest club on the planet? And you're absolutely right. Some quality footballers, some footballers that people deem, and I'm not going to use the phrase, but have come to Old Trafford before in the past and have struggled. So, he's the only one that can play himself into form. He's the only one that can decide that he wants to play for Manchester United. he's and perform at this level. And if I was Sancho, I'm looking at his mate Rashford, and I'm looking at what he's done in the summer, and I'm looking at getting on that program and doing something similar for when I come back next, in the new season. Whether or not we've got owners, I don't think you're going to see any massive splashes. People say we're going for Keane.
Definitely not this summer anyway, with FFP anyway. Even if, let's say you get the Qataris in now, we can't spend in the summer, regardless.
Well, I don't think anybody will, to be honest. I think Liverpool's stance on Jude Bellingham is absolutely right. It's 130 million, 140 million. We need 4 players. We can't splash 140 million on a player. I don't think City going for him. He stays at Dortmund or he goes to Madrid. That Madrid will pay the money, but I think English clubs this year, you're not going to see any huge, unless you're Chelsea, obviously, because you're dumb. And they don't seem to care. You're not going to see any massive signings. So I do think that whatever we do striker-wise will help Sancho rather than hinder him. And I've said this about Weghorst, by the way. As brilliant as Weghorst is at creating space, you're kind of right. We never cross the football, do we? How many times a match do we actually cross a football for a strike of Weghorst's height? I mean, Sancho and Ruud van Nistelrooy is a match made in heaven. Sancho's ability to deliver and Ruud's ruthlessness in front of goal is the perfect pairing. It really is the perfect pairing. And you look at what City do with Haaland, okay, they're not really feeding Haaland. Haaland's making 90% of the goals himself, via cross shots or by ricochets or just being in the right place for the ball to drop, because that's where strikers know. So it's an interesting conundrum that Ten Hag has. And it's an interesting conundrum for Sancho. So if I'm Sancho, I'm following Marcus Rashford's plan in the summer, and I'm going to try and reinvent myself, really.
Yeah, it's just worth just finalising on that. There's definitely a player there. I mean, the goal he scored against Liverpool this season, and I think, a few more. He's got the composure. He's got key skills that most players don't have. I think, like you said, Rashford last season, sometimes it's just a confidence thing. He's obviously got his issues, or supposedly had his issues the first half of this season. So I don't think we know what is fully going on with him. But I think also it is, and I mentioned this with Stu the last time I was on, a player's also dependent on the other players around him. If there's no striker that's on the last defender, I mean, maybe having a Rashford playing centrally and Sancho on the left, that would benefit Sancho more. Playing, having someone on the last defender all the time, making those runs, and he's got the technical ability to find him. Maybe then you'd see the best of Sancho in that regard. So, yeah, it might be a confidence thing. I think certainly is a confidence thing, but it also might be just the lack of personnel or type of player that suits his game. So a bit of everything.
A bit of everything, but look, it's hopefully he can get back into form, because again, there's a player there, and it'd be a shame to see him not do well here. But we will move on, and we're going to talk about Martinez's injury. We're not going to talk about the Harry Maguire deflection, because it's just pot luck what happened. And I'm not going to sit here and be like the United stand and Mark Goldbridge and criticise him, because that's all that dickhead's done the last fucking 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just going to leave that there where it is. We will go on player ratings. This is going to be a strange one because it's a game of two halves. David De Gea, Stu, I'll give him to you. What would you give David De Gea today?
I guess a 6 for me. I know we made that save at 2-1. Great save, but goalkeeper's there to do that. We were still dicking about, even in the first half, we were in control of the game. We're still dicking about, aren't we, with playing short balls into Varane and across to Malacia. Malacia loses it, and we do play ourselves. But I don't think he could De Gea. Look, I don't think he was at fault for either goal, really. I know I kind of mentioned that he was 4 yards off his line, and usually be stuck on it, and he probably would have got it. But I don't think he was at fault for either of the goals, really. So I can't give him any more than a 6, really. So straight 6, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And Fred, I'll give you Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Played well.
I'll give him I'll give him a 7. I think he's actually improving with each game, and he's one thing I noticed today. I think his back post defending was very good compared to last season. I think he was atrocious at that. So
He was, wasn't he?
yeah, making a few good headers, and he's getting stuck in further up the field as well. He's getting
bigger.
he's coming into
midfield. Some
midfield.
runs through the middle today, weren't he? He was making some
really
runs
good. Really good, and his long legs are like really, tricky. He's good at dribbling. He can, drop a shoulder and really do a defender. I think he's improving, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with him this summer. I fear for him, if I'm honest. I think Ten Hag's going to stick with Dalot, and we'll sign a new right back. But yeah, it's a shame, but it's good to see him in a bit of form. So I'd give him a 7.
7 is fair. I would have given that as well.
I'll give him a 7.
Rafael Varane, I'll take this one. We were solid in the first half.
We were.
He was winning every ball. He was, again, he was that commanding presence at the back. I'd give him a 7.
Yeah.
I couldn't give him a 6. He didn't concede a goal, didn't do anything wrong. Sevilla don't fuck all in the first half. I give Varane a 7. Does anyone disagree?
Yeah, no, I think Varane's a great.
I think just on that De Gea save Stu mentioned, he was the first. He cleared off the line, didn't he? So goal saving clearance there. So yeah, 7's fair.
I think 7's fair. I thought Varane was good tonight. I'm going to give Martinez a 7 as well.
Yeah,
I didn't think he was any better than Varane. He was no worse than Varane. So there's not a lot to say. I just thought Martinez was a 7. Not a lot to say really.
Before we move on to Malacia, Erik ten Hag has said that Martinez's injury is not his Achilles.
Oh, thank God for that. Fucking hell.
Okay, it's interesting.
So is it a toe? Is it a broken toe though?
I don't know.
He went in like that, didn't he? He kind of went in with his toe like that. That's why I thought his Achilles had gone. That's fucking phenomenal news, that is.
Okay, right. So he might be out for the rest of the season, but he might make the start.
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah,
surprising. I'm surprised he's spoken about it. He usually just bats it off, doesn't he? Saying, "No, we don't know." Wait, we don't even know what's happened to Rashford yet. So
no, that's true.
That's good. That's good news, though, if that's true.
Yeah. That injury is after deflating me, but yeah, it's not. If it's not the Achilles, then look at the end of the day. I would literally be saying prayers all night. But anyway, Fred, unfortunately, I'm going to give you the pleasure of giving Tyrone Malacia a rating in this game.
Yeah, look, I'm going to just give him a 5. Some might think that's generous, but I think the goal was his fault. I'm not going to hide behind that, and I think he'll. I'll need to see it again. But at the time, I was shouting on my screen saying, "What's he doing?" And I think. Didn't see enough of him going forward either. He was quite conservative, stayed back. I think only in the last sort of 15 minutes for a cameo towards the end of the game, he was getting stuck in, did a few crosses in, had the shot that you mentioned earlier. But yeah, defensively today wasn't great, especially in the second half. So yeah, perhaps a generous 5.
Yeah, I give him a 5 as well. And you mentioned that as well, that in attack he didn't offer too much. And we mentioned Sancho at one point. There was one point where Sancho had the ball and he was trying to take on his player and he opened up, Sancho's body shape, he opened up the overlap for Malacia. And the way Malacia done the overlap and run, so he could have put across him, but Malacia's
this is what I mean. Sometimes the players, your fullbacks and your wingers, they're sort of codependent now. Your wingers and your attackers, your midfielders. If the standards are so high at this level, if there's one chink in the armor, or one position is not performing, 9 times out of 10 you're going to get exploited. And I guarantee you, Sevilla would have recognised that, and at half time, that's what the manager would have spoken about, and hence the result in the end.
And you know what as well, we mentioned Aaron Wan-Bissaka's struggles this season. Look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka now with Anthony playing alongside me as a winger who understands each other.
Fabulous partnership, that is really flourishing nicely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's a good partnership. I'm really enjoying watching them play together. We'll move on to the midfield. We'll fly through these ratings. Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes still.
So, Casemiro for me was his usual 7 to 8. I thought he's phenomenal again today, Casemiro. His absolute command of the game is absolute pleasure to watch. Obviously, I taught him everything he knows. He phones me up on a regular basis for ideas on how he can improve his game, and I just give it to him, no problem. There is something about that guy playing football that is just a sight to behold. And if you really watch him and you study him and you look at the way that he progresses us, he defends us, he allows us to flourish as an attacking unit. It's just something absolutely brilliant. Again, I thought Bruno, I tell you what it is. Sabitzer, this last 2, 3, maybe 4 games that he's been in, has really allowed Bruno to flourish again, just like Eriksen does. When Eriksen's on the pitch, Bruno becomes this free spirit, and I think Sabitzer's allowing him to do that. So I'm going to give Casemiro and Bruno a 7.5.
Bang on. Fred, I'm going to give you the pleasure of Marcel Sabitzer.
Oh, wow.
I'll give him an 8. I can't go for a 9. I thought he took his goals very well. 2 superb finishes, both on his left foot. The take for the first one was brilliant. It's good to see him play as well as he is for a loan signing. It's very rare that you see someone perform as he is. I think he's benefiting from the Bruno playing deeper. He's getting into the spaces which you'll see the best of him from. And I don't think he's a goal scorer. I mean, his goal scoring record in the Bundesliga, especially before joining Bayern, was actually very good. So he's got the composure. It's no coincidence that I think he's starting to get the goals or the output for us. So I'll give him an 8. Second half, the team were largely anonymous. I can't give him a 9 or above an 8 because we didn't see the game through and it wasn't a full 90 minutes performance. But yeah, he could have easily got a hat trick or more in the first half. But I think we're going to see a lot more of him in the coming weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a few more goals to his name as well.
Yeah, look, he's doing well in this role. I'm interested to see now with Bruno's suspension how he works with Eriksen and Casemiro there potentially in the second leg. We're close to wrapping it up there now, lads. So I give you the front three still. Anthony, Martial, and Jadon Sancho.
So Anthony for me gets a 7. I thought he was great. He was at the 3 of them. He turned up first half and second half, so he gets a 7 for me. Tony M on his first half performance, if he turned up in the second half, would have got an 8 because I thought he was tremendous. Martial today, I really did. First half, second half. What can I say? Sancho, Jesus, 6. But I've said all I need to say about Sancho, haven't I?
Yeah,
in the show.
That's fair. And we're not going to go into substitutions because we literally will be here for the night.
Harry Maguire gets an 8. He was tremendous, Harry, when he came on.
Oh, the comments on the release video are going to be great now for that rating. On that, it's tough to do player ratings after.
It is.
After that type of freak result, I think, especially in the last kind of 20 minutes or so. But look, Lisandro Martinez hopefully isn't as bad as originally thought, and Ten Hag has just said then as well that Marcus Rashford could potentially be back for the second leg. I hope they don't rush him back. I'd prefer if they kept him the extra couple of days for Brighton, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
In the FA Cup. I don't want to see him get rushed back and then another injury there. But we will wrap that up for tonight. Thanks very much to Stu and to Fred for coming on. We will be back Saturday morning, I think, for the Nottingham Forest preview. I think, look, with the way today's game has gone, it's actually great that I actually organised the preview for Saturday morning and not tomorrow, because I think today's game would have been a bit too fresh in the head. But yeah, look, you see the lads' Twitter handle is there. Do follow the two boys as well. And yeah, look, we'll see you on the next one.